You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Bachelorette After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Bachelorette After Show.
So, have you ever farted in public? I mean, fought in public? I'm sorry.
It's public.
In public.
Do you fart in the public?
No.
Do you fart in the public?
Yes.
Haha, yes.
I don't know.
How many times a day do you fart in public?
We have just jumped the shark 1 minute into this wonderful episode of The Bachelorette, Season 10, Episode 6, After Show. I'm JC, and across the table, let us introduce our wonderful host.
Ladies first.
Go ahead. I'm Stephen Lemieux. Why, Stephen, you look fantastic today. No, let us start with the belle of the ball, our Andi. Cathy Kelley. Put your hands together.
How do you do that?
Okay.
All right, anyways.
And of course, my main man. What is up, Danny?
I just
Hoyt.
want to know, have you ever fought in the AFTERBUZZ studio?
You didn't even notice what lips I was doing.
Oh, yeah. Kathy's working on her Andi lips, because every time Andi has the rose ceremony,
Danny Hoyt, will accept your rose, Andi.
Ooh,
I would absolutely accept a rose from Andi, though. Let me just be real. Thank you. Can I pin this on my chest?
Once again,
what are we doing right now?
You know, here's the thing. The East Coast is asking, what time do they shoot this thing? It must be really late.
Late o'clock.
It is 2:30 in the morning, and we're having our own rose ceremony right now.
All right, guys, and once again, welcome, and we're here to talk about the beautiful, wonderful, romantic setting of Venice. Overall thoughts on tonight's episode?
I want to go there.
Yeah, well, yes, I want to go to the good parts of Venice, the parts that you think about when you think about Venice. The hotel looked nice, but when they showed the view like out from their balcony, I was like, that could be like Palm Springs. That could be anywhere.
It looked like it had fake grass.
Yeah, it looked too green to be. It looked like AstroTurf. Like, have them stay down, like where the brick streets and the architecture and the rivers.
I told Cathy that in a kind of a different way at the end when they sent JJ home and he was giving his spiel.
Wait, JJ went home?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry, I'm such a jerk.
When they sent him home, what happened?
No, when they're showing the exterior of the car he's leaving in, I'm like, they probably shot that in the valley just to save on cost. I'm just saying.
She said that they definitely shot that there because it's the same van.
Okay, all right. Give us more time on our conspiracy theories and our theories on...
There are some other ones later, yeah.
Yes, but let's start right off the bat with, okay, my heart broke. I feel like such a jerk all season because of Cody. I give Cody a hard time.
He's a nice dude.
Just this whole episode should have been like the Cody episode because he was waiting for that first date card and Nick got it.
Yeah.
And you just, my heart broke because I've just like teased him, because but he's such a sensitive, sweet guy.
Also with what happened, I don't think that he would have been the first, like they never send like the first one home, like on the date like that, because then the guys are like the rest of the week they're like, well, no, not something's off, but they're like, okay, there's one less guy, like they feel relieved, and you want them to feel pressured until the very last second possible. So that's why they orchestrate it like that. Mind
of a producer. I love it. Thank you, Cathy. That's awesome. So let's talk about the Nick date. Now,
I like the beginning of it. They took off in like the Rolls Royce of a canoe. That thing looked awesome. And Where's Waldo was apparently driving it. The guy with his striped red shirt. Yeah. No, nobody.
Can we talk about though how last week you guys were saying that
I didn't even get a reaction out of it.
Where's Waldo? Okay, bye. I'm kidding. It's late.
You don't get a rose from me, Andi.
We're gonna have to separate you two. Okay, so
can
Cathy,
I
go
finish
ahead.
my sentence? You interrupted me. Okay, so I was gonna say last week you guys were both saying that Nick seemed like he was getting the like the Michelle money edit potentially.
Okay.
But guys clearly have a problem with him. Like it wasn't like that was addressed several times, even by the nicest of people, Chris.
You know, I thought it was a little bit jealousy for me is kind of what it came. Like it could be a little bit, but it seemed an awful lot like
jealousy. But it's like if you're jealous of someone, you don't lash out like that. If I'm jealous of someone, I might be a little bit quiet and be like, oh, I don't like that person, but never say it to their face.
I thought it was I didn't think it needed to even be said to his face. I thought it was intense. Like I almost felt like I needed to defend Nick. Like I don't disagree with what he did. Like I don't disagree with him even like taking the initiative at the beginning.
I disagree with him.
Why?
I think he's a jerk. I think that
what did he do that was jerkish?
Not okay.
Really?
I just think that he's like the guys said. They have all okay. So this is my thing with Nick.
Sure.
He, I feel like, doesn't care about the other people there, and that I would want whoever I ended up with to be be liked by a lot of people and be friends with everyone, and he doesn't seem like he's there to make friends. He's only there for Andi, which would feel like at the end of this whole journey, if I were her, okay, I end up with him, and then we have no friends. Like... Cool.
Well,
but the context of what they're in this. Some people
but
even
it's
call
not
it.
even that. I'm sure outside of that, he doesn't get along with other people or rubs them the wrong way because he's too competitive at work, or he's too competitive, you know, at game night, or he's too competitive, like those
Cathy,
kind of things.
Last week, I don't know if it was either you or Danny that mentioned that they're friends outside of this, and like Nick with the other bachelors.
I didn't mention that.
Yep.
Yeah, so they've got a good. I think it's just a little bit of a hard edit that he's getting because yes, he is competitive, and I will support what you said, Cathy, about liking someone that's likable, and Andi said that as well. So that could just be a personality thing as well.
And to your point, there was the moment, and I know we'll get there, but when JJ says he's sick of people saying like, "Good for you, getting a one-on-one," all this stuff, and I do agree with you in the point that like. It's okay to be like, yeah, man, like, congrats, you got a rose. Like, to celebrate other people's success says a lot about somebody. And for Nick, he's just going a different rate. So it doesn't mean that he's a bad guy. It just might mean that he's playing it a different way. Like,
I think what I was
he's
upset
not
about.
there to make friends.
What I was upset about is he's like, oh, I'm not cocky. I just know that we have a better connection than everyone else. And the way that he said it sounded really freaking cocky.
Hold on, time out. I'm okay with it. Maybe we're talking about different conversations, but the point when she says, well, did you say, like, do you think you're the front runner? And he goes, I don't like that word. He goes, I think what we have, but let me finish. He goes, I think what we have is really genuine, and I can't see you having that with anyone else. I thought that was a perfect answer to that question.
The latter half to that was good, but the part where he's like, I don't like that word, front runner, kind of sounded like, I don't like that word, front runner, even though I know I'm a front runner.
But did he say that?
But that's how he said it. It wasn't the way, like, it wasn't the exact words, it's the way that he said it.
So it's a Michelle Money
No,
edit.
it's the way that he said it. You can say,
I agree with you.
I'm not mad at you, Danny, but I'm mad at you right now. Like, it's like a different, like, the way that you say things has all the, JC's just like.
I'm watching you guys. This is awesome.
If you could have told me that she's going to ask him to his face, do you think you're a front runner? That is the best answer I think he can come up with. That's what I would say. Like, you know what? I see what we have. I think it's so incredibly genuine and awesome, and I just can't see how you could have what we have with anybody else. So how could you not, like, basically just saying like, yeah, I do, but like, how could you expect me not to?
Try a little humble pie. I think he's just a cocky asshole.
So are you saying, well, so does he go the politician route? Where it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's a fake answer, but he's saying he's playing the game, as we all talk about.
My answer would never be like, oh yeah, I'm the front runner. I would be like, I really like you. I hope that I am one of your top people, but I have honestly no idea.
And for all we know, maybe he did, and they cut it out. Because I really liked his answer.
So.
Well, then why are all the guys still friends with him outside of this?
Are they? How do we know? How do we know? Are you friends with the guys? Did you ask them if they're friends with them?
I didn't run into any of them at any comedy shows, and so I don't know for sure.
Moving on, so now I wanted to talk about Danny.
What?
You're a fan of the fashion.
Yeah.
And I want to turn this a little, because we're family here.
I have this in my notes that I think I know where you're going with this.
How did How did Nick look in that tux?
According to Andi, he looked like a prince. It's not the word I would use, but I thought that tux looked great. Even better, Andi looked. Andi, whoever, like this episode specifically, she was all over looking well. Like, I mean, even down to the rose ceremony at the end, like, my goodness. I thought the tux looked great, by the way. And his masquerade mask was one of the coolest ones I've ever seen ever.
Yes. No.
It was so cool.
Quickly moving on before there is like a war here, I wanted to ask, okay, the edit doesn't make him look likable. Does this mean he's out? Because Andi said she likes likable guys.
She does like likable guys, but I think that a lot of the times when she says something, she doesn't necessarily go forward with that because you can tell, like, she'll be like, oh, I'm apprehensive about this guy, and then she'll just make out with him. So
like kissing
that doesn't really mean
JJ
anything.
On the night you know you're gonna send him home was a little.
No, he kissed her though.
Still, they kissed. Like,
they kissed like
on
it
the
was
night
a
she knew she was
though.
gonna send him home. Like that was a little for me.
She has very
Andi.
telling kisses though. Like she will
That's
either
true.
make out with someone and then go in for more, or she will initiate it, or it'll be like a quick like peck.
I just want to say this because I said it wrong, and I wrote down exactly what Nick said. He said, I feel fortunate to have the conversations and time we've had, and it's hard to imagine anyone else having that with you.
You're saying it differently than he said it.
That's I wrote it down word for word.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Is
but
it like inflection?
It's the way that
the
you say
inflection,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
We can go on and on about that.
We can go on all night.
I just feel like I want to know what else was said because I'm not mad at him for that sentence, and I think he played that as best as you could play that.
And here's the last thing before, because Nick, as you can tell, we're heated about this one. I want to see Andi open up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know that much about
No.
her.
Agreed.
We see the guys on display, you know, and I don't want to say she's cross-examining them, but
Well, she's sure getting a lot out of them. She's asking the right questions because she's getting a ton out of these guys.
so is there a prince left, a guy left that's going to have her relax and have her open up? And is that the key to winning her heart? Someone that helps her feel just natural and just have her.
The key to her heart.
Moving on.
He's trying to make me happy and it's not working.
Okay, let's move on to the group date.
The group date.
And okay.
Oh, but I want to say one more thing.
Sure, Danny.
Andi did initiate holding his hand underneath the table, and they gave us a good close-up shot of that Nick's hand.
Okay.
She really does like him.
She really does like him, as seen later when stuff she says on the.
I'm glad you mentioned
cocktail,
that.
yeah.
Because I said it last week when I saw Josh and Andi. I'm a dork, and it's just what I see in my own relationship, that when you're into someone so much, your hands are swinging and you're acting like a total dork, and I see that with Josh, and I didn't notice that with Nick and Andi. They weren't doing the swingy thing. They were a little more serious. Maybe that's just how their dynamic works.
She did say, the last thing she said is she could look back on Venice as the place where she fell in love with Nick. That's a quote from Andi.
Was it that I think it was that she might be falling in love with Nick.
No, she said, I could look back on Venice as the place where I fell in love with Nick.
All right. We'll have to
I remember that quote, and it was, I might look back at Venice as the place where I fell in love with Nick, or something like that, where there was
That's
a maybe.
just a rephrase what I said, the same thing. The idea is saying, I will look back on Venice as the place
I might look back on Venice.
Chat roll.
Might.
Hello. What did Nick actually say? That's what I wanted. What did Nick get?
Last week we had the same brain, and this week we can't get anything.
They can't say that on the show. Like contractually, she can't say I fell in love with this person.
No, that's not what I'm
here.
saying. She said. What I'm saying is she might look back on Venice. She said.
Now you're saying my version.
She could. No, I said she could look back on Venice as where she fell in love with Nick.
Steven, can you really turn on the AC really high so these guys kind of like chill out a little bit? They're on fire. No, hey, AfterBuzz TV. Hello, you guys are watching us live. If not, check us out on YouTube. Go to iTunes, share your comments, let us know what you think. What side are you on? What do you think? Who is she going to end up with? I don't know.
It's all good fun, but Cathy, can you scoot a little farther away? 'Cause
Keep
tension. I could cut it.
Okay.
With a knife.
Let us move on.
Are you not here to make friends?
You got.
You seem like you're not here to make
That was
friends.
good. That was a good line.
I think you guys need a lie detector test.
Okay.
That was good, JC.
But can we talk about the most amazing part of this episode
What?
first? The
What?
unicorn balloon that she got, because that looked so cute.
I missed
don't
the
even know where
unicorn
that came-
balloon.
No, okay. So the reason why I said that is because a couple of my best girlfriends, we always talk about how like finding the one is like finding your unicorn, because they're so hard to find and sometimes they don't even exist. And so like I just thought that was funny.
Group date.
Group date.
I'm just teasing Cathy. No. Okay.
I want a unicorn balloon for my birthday.
Kathy and I were watching the lie detector test. I felt I lost 13 minutes of my life.
Yeah.
Because, okay, if you had the opportunity, Cathy, would you have torn those results? Would you have ripped up the results? Hate to put you on the spot.
No, I would have looked at them. Because also, I feel like just because certain people lied and certain people told the truth, that doesn't mean that the things that they told the truth about were good. Like when Dylan said, or it was like, have you slept with over 30 people, 20 people? And he's like, yes.
Do you wash your hands?
That's not a good truth.
Do you wash your hands after you go to the bathroom?
And
no!
We could never,
Dylan, what the heck are you doing?
We could never look at Dylan's hands the same again when he was like, I'm sick, I'm gonna go home. And then Andi and him were holding hands. I was like,
yes, like,
no,
what the crap?
what are you doing?
You don't know where that hand's been. Andy!
Dylan's earthy. He's a manly man. No, I'm wrong. Okay. Okay, here's another thing.
That's like my biggest pet peeve was when you see somebody just walk out of the bathroom. That is the grossest thing ever.
It's pretty gross.
You know how we, on the show, that wasted about 15 minutes on this segment, and we've wasted about 3 minutes? Because I'm going to tell you, on lie detector tests, you can't use those. Ironically, I was listening to a podcast. No, you cannot. Because oddly enough, I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and it was some neuroscientist talking about lie detector tests. And they actually are inadmissible in court because they don't measure lying, they measure anxiety.
Interesting.
So if you're in a situation, I'm sure they're relaxed now with the cameras, but just given the situation, you're going to feel some sort of anxiety.
I could use my roommate right now who's into science and could probably give us some statistical evidence to either back you up or refute you.
I swear.
No,
Sam Harris, PhD.
I watched a lot of Maury Povich after school when I was younger. So, they used to, what they would do is when they administered a lie detector test, they would ask questions at the beginning to measure your anxiety.
Establish a base.
And so there were a lot of people that if you were to ask, like if we were to ask you right now, is your name JC? Like, do you go by JC? And you said yes. And your anxiety levels were through the roof, but they knew that answer was truthful. They would say, this entire test is not going to work for
I've heard that.
They're not inadmissible. They're not inadmissible, but if you have a good lawyer, he'll get them to take thrown out.
Right, because he can establish reasonable doubt. But it gives you basically a buffer zone of, hey, he can have up to this much anxiety and still be telling the truth. But like
still
Steven
hearsay
said back there,
it's not actual though.
Well, like Steven said back there, you can argue reasonable doubt.
Welcome to the people's court.
I think military and
JC, you are the father.
Military and certain other people, like certain other professions, are taught how to get out of a lie detector test. Like I think that it's they'll ask you a question and then the way to get out of it is to like ask yourself another question in your mind that you would say yes or no to, and the correct
good
answer.
information.
Right, I've heard that as well. Yeah. So
I haven't. Tell me more. This is great
for the after shows.
I'll put a tack in my shoe and step on it. Isn't that what he does in like Ocean's 11 or something like that? I think he puts a tack in his shoe and like steps on it with his toe every time I ask him a question. So his heart rate goes way up.
I didn't know that part, but oh yeah, what are we talking about? We were talking about the Bachelorette. Okay. Okay, so was Josh valid in being so nervous?
That seemed like he was lying. Like that's one of those things when you approach someone and you're like, oh, well, I don't know. It just seemed like he was lying because he said he didn't trust her for not trusting him.
Are we starting to see more about Josh? We start seeing these things in the previews for next week, and
I don't like him as much.
I also want to know the other questions that were asked because we clearly only saw maybe 3 or 4 questions when there were definitely other questions that might have been tougher. And I wanted to know the answers to those. Like, I wanted to know whether he had dated someone in the last 5 years or those kind of things. I thought those were going to come out.
Well, here's why I thought it, because when she first announced, I thought they were setting us up for it. When she announces to the whole group of guys, we're going to do a lie detector test, and they go to Josh's face, and his face goes from here to like he went kind of wide-eyed, and I was like, great, they're setting us up to give us as fans the info we want, which I think that was the question probably a lot of fans wanted to know is...
Yeah.
Because they've showed him saying that how many times?
Is he here for the right reasons?
Is he for the right reasons?
She has her doubts.
But they've brought up this, I haven't dated anybody in the last 5 years, several times.
And he is an athlete.
And he is an athlete. And so there's a stigma. And for all we know, Josh is probably telling the truth. I hope he is. But I will say, after this episode, I have a little bit of like a stiff arm against Josh for her. Like, I don't think he's all the way the guy.
There's just something that doesn't add up.
Well, and he kind of initiated awkward conversation. Like, he didn't need to do that. Like, the lie detector test happened. Okay, deal with it. But he, like, had to bring up that he didn't like it. It caused a rift between him and Andi.
Sorry, Cathy. Could it be that Josh likes Andi so much, and he's a good-looking guy. He's a strapping young man. He's used to, I'm sure, women approaching him, and he really likes this girl, and he's so in his head about things that he's making, he's acting slightly a fool.
No, because we've seen him in the past make jokes about things, and everyone else made jokes about things. He could have been like, haha, like, I thought you did that lie detector test for me, like, I thought, like, whatever.
But
I don't know. I just feel like he says like so much.
He does.
I don't know.
How many times do you use like? Do you use like more than 20 times in a day?
Maybe
like 25.
The big liar of the group was Chris, because he was withholding. He was the secret admirer.
Okay, here's my thing. I want to know what you guys think. If the results had been read in front of the guys, and it was announced in front of the guys that Chris was a secret admirer, would all the guys feel like, well, this a-hole now has been writing notes to her and feel the same way they feel about him about how they did kind of about Nick? Because, let me be honest, if they thought Nick grabbing Andi at the beginning of the night was a dick move on Nick's part, then this guy secretly sending her notes all the time,
I don't think
they would think it's just as much of a dick move.
It's if you're a dick before all of that and you do that thing, then they get mad at you. If you're a nice guy and you do that, then they're like, oh, wow, I should have thought of that.
Well, just to be clear, I'm not mad at Nick for grabbing her first, and I'm not mad at Chris for sending notes. I would probably do both of those things if I was on the show. I would grab her first because you want that time. You want to make sure you have as much as you can. That's the point of the show.
Yes, Cathy?
I remembered what I was going to say about Josh. So I was thinking the reason why he might have had that reaction, and the only acceptable reason to have a reaction like that, is if one of his past girlfriends, who he cared a lot about, called him out, like said, I feel like you're lying about this, and always said, like, I feel like you're lying about this, I feel like you're lying about this, and did not trust him when he was actually very trustworthy in that situation.
Plausible.
And so he might have taken that as like a, oh, Andi doesn't trust me, I'm going to have to go through this whole thing again. Okay, because he did kind of allude to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good point.
So for a segment that we could have done without, we actually had another heated debate here, round 2. I want to move on though to the second half of the day that night with the interactions. Yeah, Danny,
there was a weird moment when Dylan left. Like, I want to talk about when Dylan left.
He was sick.
He was sick, but didn't it seem kind of like the way they edited it, almost like he felt sick about one of his answers, or not telling the truth?
Yeah.
And so I was kind of waiting to see like what happened with that, and I thought that was going to lead to Dylan leaving tonight.
Also, I thought that with such limited time, even if I had a headache or my tummy was a little like tipsy or whatever he said,
From
it
not
was a
washing
weird
his
quote.
hands.
I would still stick it out because I would want to hang out with her as much as possible.
100% I agree with you. Like, don't drink a bunch of water. Stay off to the side if you have to, but show some guts. And like, I mean, granted, we don't know what he was sick with.
Yeah.
We don't. It just seemed like what they showed us. I thought, come on, bro, like, stick it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Wash your hands, grab a glass of water, and go sit on the couch.
We're ribbing you, we're teasing you, but we love you. So. Yeah. But I want to move on to the night, because I think this was, Cathy and I love this moment. The interaction between Brian and Andi.
You guys liked it?
Yes.
That was adorable and perfect.
We don't watch it with Danny because, Danny, your schedule conflicts, but what did you think of that, Danny?
Yeah, I mean,
come on.
Brian isn't my front runner, but I thought it was really endearing. Like, he's a good, like, Brian's a really good guy.
He could be a dark horse.
He could be a dark horse, maybe the way they're showing us, but he's got like this, his genuine nervousness and what?
Hold on, Cathy's got one.
Go for it. A pun?
Stepped up to the plate today.
Cathy pun! Cathy pun!
Cathy pun of the week, okay.
Because he always does sports references. That was actually good,
Steven didn't like it. That would have deserved applause.
Yeah.
I liked it.
If you watch the show, you would know.
It was awkwardly smooth.
He's cocky. Is that for Nick?
Okay. Steven's
He's
getting
trying to find
involved.
other animal sounds. No.
All right, but anyone else, like the interaction of, oh, I forgot, Marcus.
Okay, I have a thing with the Marcus Center. He tells her he's in love with her. He looks like he was about to fall asleep or like bored out of his mind, and he's like, I'm in love with you.
We just haven't seen much of him lately.
So does that mean he's maybe a dark horse?
Potentially.
I thought that he was just a little like...
I've lost faith in him.
I
was
lost faith in him, too.
Big fan of his, and that tells you how quickly out of sight, out of mind.
It could just be the edit, and we haven't seen much of their interaction, so we don't know what connection they have.
All three of us are really bristly tonight.
Yeah.
I know.
And I think
Something is off with us.
I think it's a good thing because people are getting to know our opinions.
Hashtag no filter.
No filter.
On my mouth.
But I was like, oh, Marcus is this and that. And then when he tells her he loves her, I was like, oh, I melted again.
Yeah, well, and back to the Josh thing, like, I want to say this because I wrote this down and I just read it, but like, so Brian's interaction was great, Chris's interaction was great, Marcus tells her he loves her, and then stinking Josh had to bring up that he was salty about the date, which made it awkward. Like, it wasn't awkward till he brought it up, right?
But you notice, okay, Cathy and I brought it up. They were arguing and it was heated.
So they seem like they argue like a couple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like they were back and forth, and their mannerisms, everything was just so similar. I noticed later in the night, she kept on saying like when she was arguing with someone else. And when she was talking to Cody and letting him go, she was saying like all the time. And I just feel like they're so similar. Something about them, it just works.
I see it. It's the physical thing because they were arguing, and I kept looking at Andi. And she was just like looking at Josh's mouth, like "Shut up and kiss me." I could just see them argue.
She wouldn't be arguing with him like that if she didn't care.
That's true. That's very true.
Very well said. But before we wrap up the second half of that date, this is the grand emergence. I've been saying it for weeks. Chris.
Yeah.
And they
I alluded to it,
kissed.
sorry. Yeah.
But what did you guys think of the kiss? I didn't feel a connection. I felt awkward.
She seemed like she wanted to get out of it like she was just doing pecks. There was no tongue. Very telling. I don't know.
I did love that Andi smiled. The way she smiled when he started telling her. She knew it. And it was really cool, like the way she smiled, and he was kind of like the way he even delivered it. I thought he was gonna kind of be funny with it, like he was gonna draw it out a little longer, and be like, "I have to tell you something really serious. Like I know I lied to you from the get-go, blah blah blah," and then drop it like in a funny way. But I love that she smiled and she knew it. It was very like she really liked it.
When she smiled, she should have gone in for the kiss. That like when he said, "Yeah, it was me," like that would have been the perfect opportunity for them to kiss, and it was just kind of them just sitting there smiling at each other.
It goes back to about a few minutes ago when you guys were having the discussion about Chris and he writing the letters and why didn't the other guys get mad at him. Well, everyone knows Chris already. And the fact that she already knew that he wrote the letters, it kind of tells you that Chris is kind of an open book.
Yeah. I loved when he was lying to Josh and the other guys about not writing the letters.
like, who the hell would
all
do
the
that?
other guys were like, yeah, like who, I want to know who's writing the letters. And he was like, yeah, I want to know who's writing those letters too.
Yeah. He's like,
was
who the hell would do that?
Who in the heck?
Yeah, and who the hell would do that?
Yeah, I'm telling you, he should be final one or bachelor. He's too sweet.
I wrote it down, and you can see, Cathy can verify, it put Chris in a new light for me, maybe into the top 3.
Aww.
I wrote that down as a note. I really appreciate, and I did like that he came to, when he confronted JJ, he was very like, he was very manly about it.
He was
very,
a manly man,
he
which Andi
owned
wants.
JJ a little bit, like, shut your mouth. Like, it's okay to be happy for other people's successes, and I think it says so much about somebody when you're genuinely happy about it.
Can we talk about JJ?
Yeah, let's talk about JJ.
That is one of those things where if you truly love someone, you want them to be happy and you let them be with whoever they want to be with. And that was one of the things where JJ didn't seem like he wanted his own happiness over Andi's, because he was just like, oh, well, it's hard for me to see her fall in love with other guys or like have great dates or whatever. Like, you should want her to be happy. Like Cody, when he was like doing his thing, he's like, I want you to be happy. That's the correct response.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the Cody date. I mean, moving on.
Well, before we move on, the one final note about when at the end, after she gives the rose on the group date, did you notice the hug between her and Josh? Did you guys notice this? No. It was a one-armed half side hug.
Telling.
Very telling.
Really?
It was everybody else was like full hug, blah blah, and Josh kind of did this and kind of like looked away, like he didn't even put his other arm in for it.
He didn't put his other arm?
No.
Oh.
She went in with both arms around his torso, and he kind of put one like a protector like over your shoulder.
Squirrel.
Yeah, it was very telling for me.
So it'll be interesting to see if they make up from this, if they can.
Yeah.
I hope they did later in the night. But.
Yeah. So someone that this episode was so good. Cody, I love you. I do, because we gave him such a hard time, and I could tell that they're not a match.
Yeah.
But just the way they both handle it, and you fall in love with this guy. He's such the sensitive just a gentleman.
His eyes got glassy like 3 or 4 times.
And
yes,
I mean, we've made fun of him in weeks past, but his personality and everything just shined through tonight. Like, you could tell how sincere of a person he was, and how he was happy to be there, even if it wasn't like that he was going to end up with her. Like, he was just happy to be along for the ride, like make friends, potentially fall in love.
Well, no, he was in it more than that.
I know that he had genuine feelings for her as well, but I think that he was just like, he sees the positive in everything, which is a very rare quality nowadays.
How do you think Andi handled it? I mean, it broke her heart while, because
I hated watching that when they were sitting there.
You could see, like, the train coming. You could see it.
And he's, like, unloading his heart to her, and she's not even looking at it. Like, she was looking down, and he even says, as she's looking down, he goes, I'm looking you here in the eyes, and she's not even, like, technically. Yeah, so you saw that coming. I think she was nice in the way she let him down in probably the nicest way she could.
No.
How could she be?
Okay, so we talked about this while it was going on. I think that everything she said was great, but I wish that what she had said instead was, my connection is deeper with the other people, and I think that you're amazing, but it's a friend thing. Like, she didn't say, my relationships have progressed further with these other people, and we just didn't have that time, which is what happened.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was because she was so emotional, she wasn't able to verbalize that. But I think that, it was more about her than her feeling bad about making someone feel bad, as opposed to her feeling bad for letting him go, if that makes sense.
It's too late at night to understand.
I don't know. But everything he did on that date, from the letters to him writing the response then at night, it was perfect. Like, he's just such a genuine person.
So I don't see him being the Bachelor.
No.
Right.
But could he possibly be in Bachelor in Paradise?
Possibly. He could be like a...
Because he deserves...
We don't know if he's a party boy. I think they kind of gave him this edit like he could be like this crazy... I don't know if that's him.
Yeah.
The way he treats his body and like lifts like that, people like that, like if he's a personal trainer, he's probably not a party guy. Like with heavy alcohol and kind of being whatever loosey-goosey. He doesn't seem like that to me. He seems just kind of like a big, lovable guy.
I just thought that it could go either way with him. And this is why I was so happily surprised, because we were joking when that letter came up about, oh yeah, I'm this guy, and like I have a lot of like good-looking friends, but I really like this girl. What can I do to stand out? We both joked that like he was gonna be like, oh bro, you just gotta lift more, bro.
You gotta lift more, bro. Lift
but,
more
like,
weights.
I'm glad that like he took a very serious, as opposed to being jokey and funny. That
Well,
he took
did
a
say one
serious route
jokey
to
thing.
it.
He goes, "Are we talking about Andi here and me?" And I thought that was kind of funny. Like he was trying to like make light of it a little bit, and she received that.
Yeah.
I will say one thing. The one thing that I noticed when they first met for their like the date at the end of the night, his shirt was lower cut than hers. And that was a little like, it was a very like, it was a little actually.
The deeper the V, the deeper the bro.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know.
You're like, I don't know if that was funny.
We're digesting that one, Cathy. You are so ahead of us.
I gotta get there.
No, but I hope he deserves this. I hope there's this beautiful woman waiting for him. Hopefully on Bachelor in Paradise or The Bachelor or wherever we see him.
Chicago.
In Chicago.
Yeah.
He deserves
He did
gold.
he did say like when he was confessing, he's like, I want you to come back to Chicago with me. I want to roll around with you. One thing he said that I thought was a little weird when he said, "You're in trouble because the more you hang out with me, the more you're gonna like me." I thought that was like a kind of a little weird.
I don't think that it was weird. I think that it was an insecurity thing.
Yeah, that might be true.
He felt like he was losing her, so he just give me a chance.
Yeah,
you know,
it just sounds like a line.
Yeah, like pleading a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think it was a line.
I don't think it was pleading. I think that it's just one of those like. I think it's a line that like maybe he like. It's like a jokey thing. Like, like I don't know.
All right. So we agree to disagree. You know, so.
But all in all, we like Cody. He leaves on a good note.
He's awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. So now moving on. Danny, you spoke about how Andi looked tonight.
I can't even, dude.
We didn't talk about them in the sauna, Cody and Nick together before all of this happened. That was definitely staged by producers to have their dates and then to have them alone together for that long, for that entire group date. Just so awkward.
I bet you money that the only time they didn't talk in that sauna was the 4 seconds they showed us in the sauna. And why was there an up close on the nipple?
I told Cathy the same thing. You notice how it just pans
by the nipples, a nipple close up.
Because they have a very large female demographic.
Oh yeah.
It was like abs,
nipple.
I didn't know where you were going with that, Cathy.
Face.
You said
re, mi, fa, so, nipple, low. I don't know. That sounded like what you were doing.
We're so late.
Steven's so going to pull the plug on us. Okay, let's move on to cocktails and roses.
Yeah. And Andi steps out in this black shimmery dress, and they knew she looked freaking good. Because the way they showed foot like planting in, and then her getting out, Sparkle City, like she looked. This was my favorite look for her. Also, the way her hair was,
legs, side boob,
sparkle hair. She looked so good. My favorite Andi, like my favorite look for Andi all season.
I like that one with.
I was blown away.
Remember the one where? Like, you guys and Graham couldn't even talk about the dress.
Yes.
That was my favorite look.
Yes.
You were like, wait, the dress had sleeves?
It was like that. So, and of course, she was stunning, but then to ruin the moment quickly, according to some of the guys.
Or take advantage of.
Ah, well said, my friend. Nick.
I'm not mad at him for that.
Andi.
I don't think that's an a-hole move. They set it up to make him look like an a-hole, and here's why. They showed Dylan, like, I'm going to steal her first tonight. This is what I'm going to do. I need to make that move and show her that I need to be here, and they set it up to where, like, yeah, okay, cool, Dylan's going to do it, and then it makes it look like Nick swoops in and does it.
He already has a rose, though. He should let other guys go first.
I can see maybe letting other guys go first. However...
He had a one-on-one date that week. He had so much alone time with her. That's his second one-on-one date, which... No one's gotten a second one-on-one date. He should let someone else
Here's
go
my
first.
thing. Here's my thing. I'm falling in love with a girl. I'm on a show where other guys are trying to do the same thing, and I feel like we have something that nobody else has. I want to make sure, like, I want to validate that. I want to know. I want to leave in every situation where I'm with Andi and go into it and leave knowing.
If you know that you have that connection, then let other people have their chance. But like if you are so positive that you have that connection, then at the end of the day you will end up with her.
So Cathy,
it doesn't really matter what time in the night you go and talk to her.
I don't know. I think you continue to put it in. You continue to make like moves to show her like, hey, I am so about you. Like I'm gonna always show you and tell you and do anything and everything I do to make sure you know you're my top priority.
We have a super fan, Cocktails, nice name, saying it was an a-hole move, and they said the etiquette is that you wait.
I love cocktails.
However, hold on, Cathy. No, but in defending what you just said, Danny, when Nick...
I love cocktails too.
What did you guys think of Nick's response when, once again, Chris steps up to the plate and say, you know, they were talking about him and his move, and how did Nick defend himself there? Was it correct?
Well, what did he say? He didn't engage him, did he?
That's what
they didn't show him saying anything. Chris just kind of let it out. He's like, I'm just going to put it out there. I don't care if it's awkward. And Chris says it, and Nick doesn't engage it. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I liked that Chris said that.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm okay with Chris speaking his mind and saying it. Like, don't hold it back. Get it off your chest. That's fine. Nick disagrees. Instead of getting in an argument and making it some juvenile, immature conversation, Nick just doesn't engage it. I think I'm not mad at either guy, and I'm especially just I'm not mad at Nick in this situation.
Okay.
I'm not in Bachelor. I wouldn't. If I'm on the show, I'm not on the show for etiquette. I'm on the show for Andi. And if I'm falling in love with Andi, I'm going to do everything I can.
But is that going to win Andy's heart?
I would be on the show for both.
And apparently it did good for Andi because there Andi was saying, he grabbed me, took me around the corner, he kissed me. That's a man. I loved it. She was so into that.
So then, then let's turn it on Andi because she wants a guy that's likable. She wants a guy that but then she says that's a man. So what does she want?
That's a man. I would want a gentleman.
But what does Andi want, Cathy?
So you want a gentleman.
She wants a gentleman.
She wants that man that's a little more gentle. No, I'm not trying to make a pun.
Not a little more gentle. She wants someone that's respectful of others while still being able to be protective and loyal and have this amazing passion. Like, you want someone that has it all, and I feel like Nick has a lot of that, but he's missing the respectful of others part.
Here's the thing. I don't think he's disrespectful, and here's why. I think they've cut out some things to maybe give him a little bit of an edit. Not a full bad edit, but enough that we're not sure, or some people are on the fence, because earlier in the season when somebody confronted him, right away, and we talked about this, I brought this up, I said right away he backed down and was like, hey, I didn't mean it that way, I'm sorry. And he owned it. He owned it like a man in a respectful way. Even when Cody was cussing at his face and calling him homie and getting super weird on him, Nick was like, dude, I didn't mean it that way. Looked him in his eye and was like, I'm sorry if I came at you that way or offended you.
My one thing, though, is that when he was coming back from his one-on-one time with Andi, all the guys who were sitting in there, no one was arguing and saying, you know, one person was like, oh, I think Nick's a douchebag, and the other one was like, no, he's a good guy. Everyone was saying that was disrespectful, he shouldn't have done that, that was rude. Well, like, everyone across the board said the same thing about him.
Let me ask you this. When, in most shows we see there's usually somebody to gang up on, there's usually somebody in the house that if it's not Nick, there's nobody else to...
And that was Andrew.
Yeah, but now there's nobody else to gang up on, so you take small things and you make them into big things that aren't really there to add some drama.
I
Like,
don't think
they
so.
all need something to talk about and someone's moves to talk about.
Sometimes people just all get along, and they don't have to gang up on people.
I agree with you, but I just don't think that was that big of a deal. I think they made it into... They blew it out of proportion.
I think it was a big deal.
Yeah,
what do you guys think?
Exactly.
Fans,
what do you guys think? Is Nick a bad at it? Good at it? What's going on?
He could have waited. It would have made him look nicer, but I'm not mad at him for not.
I don't think he's an awful person.
Right.
I think in this situation, he was being disrespectful.
He maybe shoulda, and it would have been a nice thing to do. However, I just can't say I'm mad at him for doing it.
Superfan, I believe it was Chris Mingy, was even saying that I believe we have a new Courtney. All that it was missing was winning. You know, so
I don't think he's that far, but...
All right.
I think Chris was the same person who said that he wanted to see Nick take the lie detector test, even though we didn't get to see the results, so it didn't matter. But I think he tweeted us and said he wanted to see Nick take the lie detector test. But because we didn't see the results, the point's kind of moot. But I agree. I mean, I would like to see.
I would like to see Nick on more group dates because even though we're not going to have
one was not very good.
But, are the group dates going to even be that big anymore? We're down to 6.
No, we're not. But I still love those group dates, especially like last season when Nikki and God, what's her name? The girl that hated her that has the teeth.
They all have teeth, Cathy.
No, you know who I'm talking about.
Claire?
Claire.
Yeah. Yeah.
When Nikki and Claire were on group dates together at rose ceremonies, there was so much tension. It was just palpable.
Yeah,
so I want to see, if I was Andi, I wouldn't just take him on one-on-ones. I would put him in group settings to see how he interacts with other people.
Okay, we still have time for that. So let's quickly move on to
Brian's poem.
You can be in your bubble, and being in a bubble does not, like, I don't know. You can... stop it. Seriously, Danny's mocking me right now, and it's making me lose my train of thought.
It's admiration.
But you can be in your bubble, and you can fall in love with someone, but that's not the real world. At the end of the day, you're going to have to be around other people.
Yeah.
He's going to have to get along with other people, and I think that that's more realistic than just being alone.
I will say, in the edits we've seen, we've not seen him get along with people great. That doesn't mean he doesn't, because like we said, he's friends with people outside of the show. So I'm in my head, in my heart, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that these are just a couple edits. I think he does get it. Like, I would have loved to see really him and Cody in the sauna, and if they were just broing it up and talking about like golf or lifting or dressing or how, whatever they were talking about. Can we talk about Brian's poem?
Of course.
I hate that my knees are weakening. I hate that I'm falling so quickly, and I hate how I don't hate any of these things. What do you guys think about that?
10 things I hate about you.
Yeah, he did jack that, but it was so cute.
It was. And for a guy he's the shy one, and he's coming out. I mean, this
He's
week he
a
stepped
star
up.
was
now,
right. Yeah, he was
yeah.
like, I think she really likes, he could be your dark horse.
Yeah, she really likes him, and he really likes her. And like, I love that he's finally getting more comfortable, and they just have a cute connection. I like it.
It would be refreshing to see him in the top 2 or 3. It really would. So let's move on to the elimination. So
First time we see Chris Harrison finally, by the way.
And of course, I forgot to add in Josh and Andi, of course, again, are kind of arguing like a couple again.
Yeah.
So,
I thought that they resolved it though during this.
well, it was like banter, I guess.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's talk about you want to talk about Chris Harrison, and
No, I
it
just
felt
was
like
first
it felt like a recap.
Those are always so staged.
Yeah.
Like, she knows exactly what questions he's going to ask her.
Yeah.
Cocktails doesn't really agree with us. She says, or he or she says, Brian is a major cornball. He acts like a 45-year-old dad.
That's what their voice sounds like, too.
Yeah, sorry. I took liberties on that one. Let's move on. So, of course, we ended up losing Cody, but also we lost the Pansapreneur.
Pansapreneur.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on... They had their one date, their old man date.
I
Which
just
was
think
funny.
that's one of those things where when you're more concerned with others there, it's going to make you a more negative person, and I think that she saw that.
I think, what Danny said a few minutes ago, it's like a hornet's nest. And as you're in that environment, you can't go anywhere. You're stuck in that house. It compounds on top of each other. You're drinking late nights. They'll look at any issue to kind of jump on.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening.
I think that's what happened to Nick. He did something that was maybe just like a little bit, okay, that was kind of a jerk move, but like, we don't hate you. And then they make it, he's the biggest dick in the world.
I think that he's done multiple things and it's just adding up. So like little things now become big things because it's like we've all had that in certain situations. If you know someone and they just do a lot of little things that are kind of mean or jerkish, and you don't say anything about the little things because they're so little, they end up adding up, and you're like, yeah, this person's a really big jerk. So when the next little thing comes up, you're like, that was awful, and like you want to call them out for all those things, but you just get mad at that one little thing.
Okay, so final thoughts before we move on to our predictions on this episode. I thought it was a complete episode. I came in kind of like, I didn't think I was going to get a lot out of tonight, and I was surprised.
I was surprised Dylan got the first rose.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that.
Yeah. So, shall we get out of here and move on to predictions? What we see next week?
Yeah.
Next week, they are in the lovely Brussels.
AfterBuzz
I love their
TV.
sprouts.
I want some Brussels sprouts with bacon and feta cheese.
Don't they have good chocolate there? I believe they do. So,
I've never been.
yeah, so the quote I got, when he is kissing me, I can feel what he is thinking.
Yeah, and it looked like, well, it was just the edit, but it looked like she was kissing Chris when they put that up. They made
But no, they had her kiss 3 different guys like in the montage though.
What do we see next week? There's one thing that really stood out for me besides that line.
What?
Josh and Andi. It seemed to me, and I don't want to start anything, it seemed like a possessive kind of thing going on there. Kind of like, maybe it's just because he's so into her but it seemed a little heavy-handed. And so I really want to see how that plays out, if that's just them editing and us, or it's just, this is a guy who really digs this beautiful woman.
So obviously I have been defending Nick.
Yeah.
Next week I think will make or break Nick for me, and here's why: because they showed him going to her hotel room and walking down the hallway, and the audio that they dubbed over it was him saying, "I don't like her with other guys, and so I'm gonna do something about it." And so I want to see what he does, because if he, depending on if he just goes to like say goodnight and tell her officially that he's in love with her or something like that, that's kind of like Chris sending her a note. I wouldn't be necessarily, but depending on what he does, I might not be able to defend
It's
him anymore.
interesting because in the past, everyone that's done that and snuck away has always been the villain. And it's like, Courtney did that. She snuck away with Ben and got him into the ocean. And then Claire did that with Juan Pablo.
He got him into the ocean.
Yeah.
But with Andi
Is
and...
there an ocean next to Belgium?
Brussels.
Yeah, next to Belgium. Brussels is in Belgium.
Okay. No, while we're deciding that, no. My thing is with Andi and Nick. It seems like she wants to hear it from Nick because he's kind of like they have this mental connection, but there's also a little bit where she has to pull some stuff out of Nick sometimes. I think just because his personality, he's kind of like a manly man, and she kind of likes it. Like she said, that's a man. I think she wants to hear if he says I love you. It's gonna catapult him. It's gonna catapult him all the way to the.
Is that your prediction?
I believe so. Yes.
So can we do this right now?
Let's do it.
After this episode, currently, what are our top 3s?
Okay, Cathy, top 3s. Or
not necessarily in any order. What's your top 3 at this moment?
Top 3, I would have to say, geez, who's the list? Okay. Top 3, shoot. I'm going to go with Brian, Nick, Josh.
Brian, Nick, Josh. Just because we fell in love with him.
Just the way that she kisses them.
Okay. Off the kisses. What's your top 3?
Cathy, you got me. I'm gonna ask my guy who I've been loving all season. I'm gonna go with what Cathy said. I'm gonna go Josh, Nick, and Brian. Because I always have Chris in there, but just that kiss just kind of threw me off.
I think Josh potentially goes home next week. I think it's Chris, Brian, and Nick. I think I think Dylan will go home next week.
Like you said, with it'll be make or break for Nick next week. I think it's also make or break for Josh in the promos that we saw.
And here's the thing. To be really honest, I don't see her with Marcus or Dylan either. So I don't know when they're going to go home. Because I don't see them staying longer than Josh. I still see Josh going home, but I see Marcus and Dylan going home first. I just don't know when.
She might appreciate that Marcus has said he loves her. And I feel like bachelorettes of past usually keep around those guys because they're worried about getting hurt by either their front runner or they do genuinely love that person back. And guys are the opposite, or they're like, oh, this person, I don't know.
I don't see Marcus or Dylan with her. Okay. I think it's just kind of like delaying the inevitable. Yeah. Like they're good enough to make it this far for her, but I don't see them making it much farther.
All right, AfterBuzzers, send us your top 3. Yes, so that does it for another exciting episode of The Bachelorette. So, Cathy, Kelley, where can they find you?
You can find me fighting with Danny or on Twitter at Cathy Kelley.
You can find me eating all the donuts Cathy buys for me because she buys them for me all the time.
Not for you, they were for someone else.
What?
On Twitter and Instagram.
They were for our friend Catherine.
And Steven, thank you for putting up with us. Where can they find you, buddy?
You can find me here.
That was creepy. And you can find me at JC Rubio TV on Instagram and Twitter. So for Steven, Cathy, Danny, I'm JC. See ya.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later. I feel alone.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.